Deby Atterby, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. I've recently got hold of your new book, Australian Essential Oil Profiles, which I'm extremely passionate about, living in Australia and working with native oils. And I'm so thrilled to talk to you about your experience with it today. I was wondering, for people that aren't so familiar with your work, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you love essential oils so much?
Yeah, and thanks first of all for inviting me, Adam. That's really lovely of you to do that. It really means a lot to me, and I feel very honoured that you like my book. That's really very, very good. It's spent a lot of time in my life thinking about the things with the Australian oils, and I have been working with them since I was 18 years of age. So that's when I first started herbal medicine, and aromatherapy then became my passion. So I've been in it for a very long time. And in brief, I run the international conference for Australia for aromatherapy. That's biannually, and it's called Aromatic Australia. I have been the owner and the publisher of the international journal for aromatherapy called Aromatherapy Today. I've had that for some 17 years. And and I run a school called Aromatherapy Today Education, which I have a partner with that. And we actually have a course in the back of the book, which you can actually do learning about Australian essential oils, but we also have diplomas of aromatherapy running and many other different short courses. Yeah. So that's wrapped up in a
Yeah, beautiful. So in all the education that you do, is it primarily Australian essential oils, or are you kind of all essential oils and the Australian ones obviously worked into that?
Most of the work that I do is overseas. Generally, it was before COVID hit, and so generalistic I would use all essential oils, but primarily I would always add the Australian essential oils. So the Australian essential oils have been my passion for so many years. I cannot explain to you. It started way back when in the 90s, where I really became quite attached to them. And but yeah, I do a lot of research on each oil, even a new one that may come out on the market, and a lot of people are a little bit nervous about using certain essential oils. Well, I really work very hard at that research to find out how that new essential oil may work for us in Australia. So yeah, I have put a lot of work through the Australian industry for the native oils and things, and common Australian grown oils.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I think it's really interesting that, if you ask people to list essential oils, that, they'd go through lavender, they'd go through peppermint, eventually you'd probably get to a eucalyptus and a tea tree, which are our kind of token Australian ones. But there's such a massive range of Australian essential oils, isn't there?
Well, today, Adam, the big thing is I try to make people understand it's not just the lavender or the Lavandula augustifolia that you may purchase in France that has got the highest of everything. It's great. It's a beautiful oil, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the Provence, but we have the most beautiful lavender in Victoria, and we have it in Tasmania. The peppermint. So generalistically speaking, in the clinic where I have my own clinic, I work 1 day a week now, and that's it. I used to work, 3 to 4 days a week, but 1 day a week. And I use the essential oils that are grown here in Australia. I don't go out and use a lot of other essential oils unless it's absolutely necessary for me. But if I can find a way around of using those essential oils, the Australian natives and the Australian common oils, I take them first.
So when it comes to such as the peppermint or the lavender that's grown in Australia, how different is it in its chemistry and effect compared to its, getting it elsewhere in the world?
Well, like if you were looking at your peppermint oils, a lot of these things have been brought into Australia anyway. So, they have learned to get the right eco assistance to grow exactly what is necessary to get the best of those lavenders or peppermints or fennels or whatever essential oils they are. So they work their grounds. They know exactly. These people are very, very good people. And for me, I deal a lot with the farmers. I speak to them a lot about the particular essential oils that I may be working with or working on.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, I wanted to kind of dive a little deep into an essential oil that's gifted to us from Australia. It's native oil. And I find a lot of people don't know too much about it. And it's known as Rosalina. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about, why you love Rosalina.
Okay, so that is what we call the Melaleuca rectifolia. It was always named as the Australian lavender. You know, they kind of give it that nickname, and that's because it is quite a gentle oil. But you know, sometimes it's an interesting thing that people don't really go and look that one step further. Like for myself, I do. I research everything, and there was kind of a little bit of a shortage of the one that we commonly know that comes from WA, and that particular Rosalina is high in what we call linalool, and the linalool makes the oil beautifully rounded. It makes it a soft oil. It makes it very lovely to treat children and, you know, aged care, all sorts of things, grieving. It's just a top oil. But at one stage there was a bit of a shortage and everybody was sort of rushing around, quick, I've got to get some more of this, I've got to get more Rosalina. And so what they did is they jumped down south and they bought it southern, and then that becomes a chemotype. And so actually that oil is not as, it's a fabulous oil for respiratory problems because it's very high in 1,8 cineol, but it's not so good as gentle for children. And so sometimes people, if they don't really go through those types of studies, which, you know, I offer them to learn now, they sometimes can trip over themselves and wonder why these things may not work so well for the individual that they're dealing with. They're not exactly known to the whole oil itself or where it's come from.
So just to clarify, obviously Rosalina, it grows on mainland Australia on the east coast, is that correct? And then in Tasmania.
Correct.
And then the one that you're going to get on the mainland is high in linalool, which is a chemical constituent that people would know probably best from things such as lavender to be quite relaxing.
Yep, correct.
And then the one down in Tasmania, high in 1,8 cineol, which is very much found in eucalyptuses, and that makes it good for the respiratory. So although they have the same name, because they're growing in different places, their chemistry is going to be a little bit different.
Absolutely. And that is all about those chemotypes. And they're the sort of things that are very important to me to make sure that people have a really good understanding, because, you know, if you actually go through the book, you'll see there's certain warnings and cautions that are always put in there. And one of those things, like too much cineol for children is not good. You know, it's really a contraindication. So there's certain things that we need to look at, not just because the name is Rosalina or its botanical name is Melaleuca rectifolia. That's not the answer. It really is something you've got to sit back and go, hey, I really need to know about this. And this is why it was really important for me to put that book out.
So in your book, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have Rosalina in there. You're then talking about the mainland Rosalina, for want of a better term?
Yep. Yes, in Western Australia. That's the Western Australian one, and you'll see that is actually high in that linalool. It still has a 1,8 cineol in it, as it does with other constituents, but this particular oil that is produced over in the WA is a more softer oil, a more gentle oil.
You're referring before that you like to, swap out where you can oils from elsewhere around the world and, put in an Australian one. Where would you swap out something else and put Rosalina in your practices?
Well, it's a bit hard to say that, give you an answer for that one, because I've got so many other things that I can use in Australia. Like we've got our mandarins and we've got our orange oils, and we've also got our beautiful lavenders and we've got our roses. And so we're really kind of lucky. We've got the Palmer Rosa. We've got a lot of oils that are commonly grown today. So swapping and swapping, we're kind of more like looking at, say, something that I may use for its anti-inflammatory results, and I may see that I can get a better result, or I can get the same result for an ailment that I may be working on. And so I will actually play the game. I will bring that Australian oil in, or that native oil, and I will research it very clearly. I will make sure that I know exactly the chemical structure that's coming in, right down to the traces, and make sure that then I see that oil, and then I will actually research with that and work with that and make different types of formulations or prescriptions, and then we will work with them, and we work on dosages and all of that. So it's quite a lot involved, but this is sort of the stuff I love to teach.
Yeah, beautiful. No, I love that. And, so obviously Rosalina can be purchased, and there could be people that have kind of bought some Rosalina online, or they've got hold of it somehow, and they're kind of going, what do I do with this oil? So what would your recommendation be to just someone who's not an aromatherapist, but someone, just an individual who bought it because they like the smell? Is there any, apart from diffusing it, how could they use it?
Well, most of the time when people have not really gone through a really, at least a good course that can show them the goods and the bads and the safes and the contraindications and the dosage, people need to be a little bit aware of it. So, but, as you say, you can diffuse these oils. It's great. If they wanted to use a little bit for relaxation, a long time, then as they use a disperser, you can pop it in a bath with some magnesium. So it's a beautiful way to enjoy the comfort and the beautiful aroma that the Rosalina offers as well. Nothing to do with maybe one drop on the pillow just on the evening to help the resting part of your life. All that type of stuff can be done. It's something that they should never ever think of putting it in their mouth or thinking that that's going to cure a problem until you've gone through the correct studies and you really do understand what you're working with. Then things can change a little bit. Inhalers, you've seen little inhalers that you can work with, nasal inhalers, as long as they know the dosage. See, those sort of things are important too. You can't just flood a wick and think that you're going to be able to use that because, we're working on the olfactory. We're looking at it going straight to the limbic system. So we need to make sure that the dosage on those sort of things are correct as well. So all of it is about dosage, even if it is a safe oil. It can still affect an individual, especially if they're on certain medications.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people forget that, this is like a power punch of the plant. It's, there's only small amounts in each plant, and often we need a bit of plant material to actually get that little 5 or 10 or 15 ml bottle. And so when you've got that, you've really got to concentrate. So, less is more kind of thing, very much.
And that is very, very, very true, Adam. And that's what most people are now learning a little bit more about that, which is a really important factor. I think that's wonderful because that part of this safety is now being addressed through many companies throughout the world. And I think that's a big tick in the box.
Definitely, yeah. So all the different things that you were, kind of listing of how people would use Rosalina, it sounds like it would be a pretty good bedroom essential oil, would you say?
Absolutely. And, it's a very soft, I've got some Rosalina out the back out here, actually, but you can't quite see it, bad luck for that. And it's a beautiful smell, and you're just going to miss out on having to beautiful capture it. But, yeah, it's such a soft and gentle, and it does have a bit of touch of that rose behind it a little bit. And you do have that undertones of a lavender too because of the chemical structure behind it, but it's a very gentle, a very sweet, it's a very nice and easy on the olfactory system. It's not something that can be a little bit over irritating either. It's just a very, very beautiful, soft and pleasant oil that can be used in many, many different ways.
And as you're saying before, I think this may be a surprise to some people. You said that it's, a variety of melaleuca. Now, normally people kind of interchange the word tea tree and melaleuca, not really realising that the melaleucas are a bit of a family. And we've got our typical tea tree, we've got our Rosalina, Neoli, a whole range that all fit into that family.
Absolutely. It is gigantic. And that is such a very important part of using. Know so much about, everybody might know about it until the cows come home about lavender, and they might know about all of these normal everyday type essential oils. But when we're walking into a different ground and looking at things like our native oils, there's more to learn.
Definitely. And I'm kind of, as I'm piecing it together, we've got this kind of tea tree aspect, which is renowned for its cleansing and cleaning properties.
Correct.
And then you've got the linalool, which is very lavenderish. Two things we really want to achieve at night is we want to kind of be breathing deeply and nice, fresh, clean air and probably giving our immune system a bit of a boost. And we want to, have a restful sleep, and linalool's great for that. So
absolutely. So you get a double banger out of that one, don't you?
Yeah. In my eyes, I'd kind of argue that this might be one of the best oils you could put in a bedroom diffuser because we've got ones that cleanse and we've got ones that sleep, but this is 2 for 1.
Yeah, and as you see in my book, if as you say you've had a little look, you'll see that I also use it in for children. So it's a wonderful, mist spray that you can work with children. It's lovely also for people to be able to use, even if they want to put it in their linen or in with their clothing and things like that, because you've always got that backup of looking things for moths and stuff like that. So it's got a lot. It's got a lot saying for it, really, isn't it? You can use it for many, many things.
Yeah, no, I really loved your children comfort spray that you did have in the book. Could you share a little bit what
Sure.
that involved?
Okay, well, that was more something that I worked with my grandchildren. So often when I go up there, my eldest one, Echo, she absolutely adores all of the aromas and the herbs, and she just, that she just loves it. So we always make some little sprays here in the dispensary, and then we come out of the dispensary and she'll take them home. And one of those particular things we did was a night spray. So it's like the fairies were coming and, we'd spray and that would make them peace. And it actually helped with them for that restful mind, just to relieve those little dreams sometimes the children go through. So that was great, but we could vary that a little bit too. You don't have to go in exactly what's written there. Some people would never put alcohol in it, so as you will see that there is another form of a disperser in there. So I have used something else if you don't want to do that. I just find it works really good for a spray with a little bit of the alcohol. It doesn't hurt the child. There's nothing going to, my grandchildren are absolutely fabulous. They don't have any issues. And sometimes I may put a bit of mandarin in there, and I might swap out, say, the rosewood. There's rosewood in there, and sometimes I might swap out and say, well, I might put a drop of Buddhawood or something in there. It really does depend, and it's nice to have the variety. So I always find, don't sort of stick to the same. The children do have that variety within it.
One of the things I loved as well, are you saying that your grandchildren actually come in and help make up the blends as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is absolutely. Oh, go on.
So anything that has no danger zones behind it, I find that is a really important part of a children's growth. I think that they need to see that. I mean, I will pick the herbs. They'll infuse teas with me. The eldest one, maybe not so much the youngest. And she'll know exactly what nasturtium is. She knows exactly what, lemon balm is. She'll know all those things because she's learnt to grow up with me. And so if she wants to come in and she'll say, let's make something, Mimi, let's make a spray for tonight. Can we make a fairy spray? And so we do it. Anything that doesn't involve anything that's dangerous, she's allowed to work with. So she can get the hydrosols out. She can measure the hydrosols. She's 5 years of age and very capable.
I love that for two reasons. The first reason I love that is because, you're offering children, as they grow up and they have, different health challenges that arise, instead of going, I need a pain relief tablet or a medication, let's make a spray or something else that's natural. So we're teaching that from a beautiful young age. And I also love that by involving the 5-year-old, a lot of children maybe are having problems sleeping because of, there's a monster under the bed or something like that. But if you're empowering them to have a solution, whether there's a monster under the bed or not, they're then proactively able to conquer the monster with their own creation.
Correct. They pick up the spray, she sprays it around and that's fine. And often if her little sister might be a bit crying because of whatever it might be, she'll go and spray the room and say, we'll put some fairy spray in it today, and she knows in the dispensary, and there's things in here for her that she can manage, and she's capable of, getting a cream. So if she wants to make some bath salt, she'll have a bath salt, and then she'll use a base cream, and she'll put a couple of drops of essential oil in it, and she'll mix it, and then she'll pop the lid on, and we'll put a sticker on it because we know it's going to be green, it's not dangerous. And she learns all those sort of I suppose it's learning the craft of a grandparent, passing on from the older to the younger.
Definitely. I love that. I wish we could fast forward 20 years and see what kind of well-adjusted young adult she'll be with this beautiful foundation.
Yeah, and we do love it. We're very lucky. We've got that very special connection. And, I hope with the other two grandchildren as they grow older, it just formulates into a bigger thing. for them.
Yeah, very much so. Now, one other thing I noticed on your in your book when I was reading through Rosalina as well is you said it was really good for upper respiratory tract issues. Now, I was listening to a podcast with The Guardian recently, and they're talking about good old COVID, which has obviously been around for the last couple of years, and Delta tended to sit lower in our lungs, but the reason Omicron seemed to sit higher up, and that's why they believe it's more infectious because obviously as we cough, it's more readily kind of near the surface. So obviously with Omicron kind of spreading around the east coast of Australia at the moment, and I'm sure here in Perth where we'll get our brunt of it when in due course.
Especially
exactly. Do you think Rosalina would be helpful in these cases for that upper respiratory tract?
I think synergistically, if you are using that and you are using it within the scope of the infusers and things, no matter what we do, anything that has that antimicrobial effect behind it is going to help you. I have to be very honest with you. It's like this. If you are a little low in your immune system and you've been working 24/7 and, you can do all you can possibly do, it may make it a little less difficult, but I can't guarantee anything that's not going to happen, and it's not going to be something. You can always protect yourself and give it all your best shots. And, as long as your immune defense at the time is at its peak, then you should be pretty well okay. And you might only get to stay a day or two. Always burn those things. Oils are such an important factor in our health and well-being. I mean, if you were to look at just marketing, for instance, like anything that you work with, say your antibacterial sprays or your laundry washers or your kitchen cleaners, you'll always see eucalyptus, you'll always see lemon, because they know it's a very high, fast working antibacterial. And so if you're going to be using essential oils with that and burning them, well, how can you go wrong?
Exactly. And I think that's one thing that we've got to realize is that essential oils have the ability to support the body and help the body. But if the body isn't getting its core nutrients or it's not getting, they're magical, but they're not miracle workers in a way. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%. And we have to all understand that. It's like any medication, whether it's from a medico or it's from a natural therapist. It is really where you are as well. And that's the thing that I suppose why I never really gave up that final day of clinic, because it's really important that we work holistically with everything.
Yeah, speaking about holistically as well, there's a very much a bigger understanding now of how what's happening in the mind and even on a spiritual level impacts the body as well. Yeah. How do you see Rosalina kind of steps in that more holistic aspect?
Well, see, because if you were to look at it in a vibrational way, it has got that beautiful energy. As I said, it's a very subtle oil, and due to because this, it is a lovely oil which is high in alcohol. It has a tendency to be able to pass through that blood-brain barrier and really set that goal of that purity and give balance to that body. And I think it's really a lovely spiritual oil. I think it's just such a subtle oil, and if you are obviously using the essential oil, not from the southern end, I'm talking about from the western end here, then it is a very good calmative. It's a top little oil to be burning, and it's safe. That's what we've got to look at, and safe for our children. So, spiritually, I suppose that's where it really comes in too, doesn't it? I mean, children, really, if you look at them, they're very spiritual in their own way. They have their world of fantasy, and that's
very much.
They.
And probably that's something that as adults we lose a little bit, that sense of that the world is magical and everything's okay. And I guess Rosalina can kind of cradle the child within all of us, regardless of how old we are.
So it's still a very magical oil, isn't it?
It is.
It's very magical.
Now, as you mentioned when we started talking, there is a whole range of Australian essential oils, and that kind of opened my eyes about 10 years ago when I started to realize, there's not just one eucalyptus and one tea tree. There's a whole range of eucalyptuses. There's a whole range in the Melaleuca family. And then we have a whole range of other oils as well. What are some of your other favorites?
Oh, gosh. I change so much, Adam. I can't. Some days I think Oh, I really love that. Like, I mean, I went through a really big stage of Rosalina. I really did. I mean, that I went through, oh God, I love this oil. I think it's just the ants pants. And then I've been really, really right on at the moment. I love the cypress leaf. I'm right into cypress leaf at the moment. So, of course, I'm doing a lot of work at the moment. I'm talking over at the big conference in the UK in May for Botanica, and I'm actually talking about the essential oils and the native oils of Australia and why I do change things. So there's a lot of things there that come into it, and some days it might be an oil, and then all of a sudden I change my mind. I just change. I suppose I really can't say that is the oil that I don't know, stick by all the way. I love them all. Some of them I hate. Some of them I hate. I can't stand the smell of them.
Oh, really? Can I ask which ones you're not a fan of?
Oh, sometimes when they're very high in citral, I get a bit of a, like I go. And I mean, I know they're fabulous and they work brilliantly for, especially in Australia with the problems that we have with mosquito and things like that. But sometimes I think the citral gets me a bit, and sometimes they're just that bit too high for me. So, I'll pull back a bit and I make sure I put the synergistic effect with the oil. So I have a bit of a toss and turn around it, and I do a lot of experimenting on what I think looks good and what tastes and smells the best for me.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that, because I guess that's the joy of aromatherapy and essential oils as well. Is often there are similar chemistry with very different essential oils. So if Rosalina could be a really great alternative. How many women have told me stories of, I can't use lavender in the bedroom because my husband hates it?
Yep. So where goes Rosalina? How we go?
Exactly.
Yep. And it's not to say you can't put cypress leaf there as well. So, there's so many beautiful, really beautiful essential oils. And really, if you think about it, the Australian, that bush of Australia has just got that such a beautiful, healthy smell about it anyway. There's so many other lovely oils out as well. We've got that many now on the market, and we've got some wonderful companies that supply us with these oils. But the big thing for me, Adam, is that I want people to learn about it, to really learn how to use them and to use them well.
Yeah, definitely. And as you kind of travel around the world and you're educating people about, maybe, like you said, you're in either the UK or Europe or maybe America or somewhere, how do people respond to these Australian essential oils?
Love it. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I have had before COVID, three permanent schools one in Korea, one in Taiwan, and one in Hong Kong. And the Asian people absolutely they just love Australian native oil. So, it's really something that they love. But even moving the last really big trip I was able to make was just before COVID hit, and I was actually in Budapest, and I was working on Zostopus. So, I spoke at their conference, and we were talking about the actual Melaleuca quinquenevia, which is the paperbark, and that one is like the Naoli and we were working on both of those areas. And there's people just go, oh, they can't get enough. They say, oh my God, I love these oils, and they just want to smell them, they want to feel them, they want to feel what they can do, which is so different. And it's a very welcoming thing. People really open their arms up to these Australian
Do you
oils.
see maybe in, say, 20 years' time that Australian oils will play a bigger role in the market? And if I was to visit a random aromatherapist maybe in England, that they might have a few more Aussie oils in their collection?
I think they're already doing that now, Adam. I think you'll see that. Oils they just talk about, right? So you've got your fragonias, you've got your sandalwoods, you've got your tea trees, and you've got your eucalypts. And, a lot of people know them very well. But actually opening that door for them and seeing these other types of essential oils that are some of them are just brilliant for different types of, healthcare and working on certain types of ailments. And yes, very much so. We know that Australian oils are fabulous for the respiratory areas and knowing how to use them properly. But yep, they just want to know more. They want to know exactly how these oils are functioning. And this is why it was so important for me to put together the book and put together the course and make sure that, you know, people could actually understand. And what I try and do is I try and teach them really how it actually does come together. Why did I choose that oil over that oil? Why is it that I've decided not to go out there and use that specific common oil that you can buy in Corsico? Why did I choose to go here? And why was that functioning going to be equal, if not better, to what I was using prior to that? So these are the reasons why things have been put together. And this is what this is what it's all about now. And if I may interrupt, and I'm sorry, I know I talk a lot, but I'm very passionate about what I feel. I'm very passionate about the Australian history as well. And I have a lot of respect for our First Nation people. And, you know, I try very hard. And when I covered every element that was very, very much necessary to never tread the wrong way. And I don't want other people not to learn that and not to go out and abuse what we have here, because it is something that needs to be, you know, as a gift to us, and we need to be able to treat that with respect. And so this is why also the course has been developed, and people will learn many different types of things like encapsulations. They'll know how to work with the essential oils. The big thing is they'll learn about how the dosage, they will learn about what we have in, you know, using different medications, how they can interact with medications. A lot of people don't stop and think about how dangerous, even simply using lavender sometimes, if you are on high antidepressants, you know, that can be actually an issue to look at.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah, dosage is just such a huge thing, and within these classes, people are going to learn that. And what we've set up here is that they will go and obviously learn most of this online, so they can get the courses and start working with it. And I work within this dispensary. I formulate, so they have a day where we will do theory and then we'll go in and we'll do practical. We open up just like we're doing. You and I are talking right now, you know, wherever they are in Australia, wherever they are in the world. Come along and we're going to talk to you guys. We're going to say, no, why have you got that problem with that one? What is it that you didn't do? Have you got this on it? So let's talk to you about it. You know, let's try and bring the classroom, the real classroom, within there. And, you know, now the boom gates are opening up. You know, I'm hoping that I can return to doing the things that I was doing there before. And that was when people would get groups together and say, well, look, you know, I have 10 clients here who really want to learn this, but we don't want to do it on the computer. Fine. Well, here I come down to see you, and, you know, make that workshop, and I'm going to bring the workshop to them and show them how they can do it. And it may be more intense, obviously, than working, you know, over a period of time, but there it is. It opens that door for people to truly learn. And that's
now, I love that approach. And I am going to loop back and get you to, because I'm sure people are going to be interested in the course and the book, and I'm going to make sure they have all the information they need to, you know, find out more about that. But you touched on the fact of, you know, that there obviously is a long history in Australia of, you know, the First Nations, Indigenous people using these plants as well. One thing I found interesting as I've researched essential oils over the last couple of decades, is there are beautiful myths in parts of North America, and, you know, the Greeks and the Romans had amazing stories on how the cypress formed and how the, you know, laurel came to be and so on. Mm-hmm. Did you find in all your research, does the plants that we love that gift us essential oils, is there mythology behind some of these as well?
Do you know, there is a lot of research that I found, and there's certain openings there that I was, you know, really amazed and taken with. And, you know, I'm in very many different associations for working with Indigenous and things like that. But sadly, a lot of them are lost. They don't have it. It has been stolen. It truly had been stolen from them. And you know, I've gone to places and, you know, they've looked at me and said, well, you seem to know more about it than I do. And, you know, it was really sad because, you know, I went through every area possible to make sure that I got those grounds correct. And, you know, I went right back to when the botanists first began and when they brought the first fleet in to find out about those things. But some of the things that I found were just, you know, like, it's not necessarily that our First Nation people would use it as essential oils as such. Create the poultices. They knew how to do the infusions. They knew how to bring. There was one certain thing, and I'm probably not sure even if it is in my book. I can't remember now. I have to think about that. But there was one particular lady that I spoke to right out in Mount Isa, and her family trait. She said, you know, often we would watch the ants, and the ants would show us that the tree that they would actually crawl up onto. This is something that was passed through from her family to family, which that doesn't always happen. And I started to get really super excited. And she said to me, you know, the word was said that my elders would take those ants in winter and they would bite the bottom of their bottoms off. And that was where the eucalyptus oil was. But they knew which one to do. It's not just any eucalyptus tree. It's not like that. I mean, there's so many species, and so many species can be dangerous as well. It's just like herbal medicine, you know. You just don't go out and forage if you don't know what you're foraging for.
Yeah, very much so. Right, Debbie, I know people are dying to know. First of all, tell them about the book and, you know, where they can get it from and, you know, give us a bit of an elevator pitch on the book.
Okay, so within Australia, obviously, you can purchase it at Aromatherapy Today Education. And in the back of the book there, Adam, you will see that we have all that information. And there's a section in the very back of the book, and you may want to pop that up on your screen. You may want to send that to any of your people that may follow you or whatever. The course is also up and running. Again, you could let people know that if they really want that. I mean, I like to talk to people. You know, if they want to send me an email, please go for it. You know, send it to Aromatherapy Today Education. If they want to speak as well, they can. There is all contacts within the book that you can actually put up there for each person to see. I'm happy to do workshops for you if that is what your people would like, or you know, people within the industry or whatever. The door's open. So, you know, you've invited me, now I'm inviting myself to you if you would like to do that. So yeah, it's just all there. And if they want to talk to me personally, my number's there too. They can pick up the phone, ring me, and I'm really happy to do that. And if I don't answer straight away, I definitely will contact them back if they leave me a message.
Beautiful. And whether you're listening to the podcast or watching this on video, if you check down the notes, I popped all those notes down there as well. Debbie, thank you so much. I recently fell in love just like you did with Rosalina as well. And I was like, right, I need someone who can tell me all about it. And I'm so glad that you gave your time today. Anyone who's listening or watching right now, if you could give them any final message about Australian essential oils, whether they be within Australia or maybe they're listening in one of the far corners of the earth kind of thing, what do you think you'd love them to know?
I think that they should know that we have such an amazing plants here, and the oils that we have got something to offer each and every person, no matter where they are. Just learn them well, understand them, and treat them with respect. And if you do that and you understand what and where and how you can use them correctly, you'll always come out on top.
Deby Atterby, it's been an absolute delight talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
And before I leave you, Adam, if there's ever anything that I can assist you in, or you need to ask about an oil, please don't hesitate.
Thank you so much.